Yeah, hi all. Welcome to Mock Interviews with Ankit Jain. So this is me, Ankit Jain. So I'm a technical architect at an MNC, ex-PwC, ex-IBM, and many other companies. I'm 19X certified. I'm a mentor at TopMate. I'm a committee speaker, and I have my YouTube channel by the name Mock Interviews with Ankit Jain. And this is my LinkedIn. Like those who want to connect with me, so you can feel free to scan this code and top mate, like I guess you already know. That's why you all are here. So, and this is my YouTube channel. So on this YouTube channel, I've already shared many interview related sessions, mock interviews, and there's a architect playlist as well, which already covers few of the important architect topics like large data volume, security model, and there is architect interview related questions as well. So there is various other categories as well, so you can go through that. And now this session will specifically focus on few of the scenarios that are like your decision guides, like if that is the use case, what should be the ideal approach, or one functionality can be utilized in multiple use means there could be multiple use cases that could be solved using a one functionality. So one such example that we'll be taking about is around the batch classes. We all know batch classes, what it is. Like everyone will say like it's a large data volume, you want to process that, and that's why like I use the batch class. But there are other means there's an important factor like batch classes are of two. There are two variants of start method, I would rather say it like this. One is your regular way, like through the query locator, you query the data and you do the processing. And other is like you have a custom iterable. So suppose in the scenario where you have large data to be queried, when I say large, it is around more than 50,000 records. 50,000 records is the limit that you can query in your normal synchronous transactions. And suppose if the volume is more than that, you will have to go with query locator. Through batch class, more than 5 means 5 million records you can query. And the second one is your iterable. Iterable is like you want to do some complex processing and you already have the data with you. So you do this thing. So technically speaking, batch class is used only for large data processing. And second is like if you want to go with more than 50,000 records that needs to be processed. If it was less than 50,000 records, I could have written the I could have done the synchronous processing as well. As per the governor limits, although there are high chances like I might encounter like other limits as well, like query timeout or other things. But that is the technical part of it. Like this is how the things work. Now, what are the things normally we go with while going through the batch classes? One is your retry mechanism. See, this is a very common, like in your interviews, always they would ask you like retry mechanism, how would you ensure like retrying is happening in? So, how normally we do it is like, if the client says like they need real-time synchronization between your Salesforce and ERP. So the scenario is like you will create the order record here, but for fulfillment you will send it to ERP system. Now what you do is like you send it for syncing one on a real-time basis, like you publish a platform event, then that platform event is being subscribed by your MuleSoft or any ETL tool, and then it does a query of your records, and then it sends it to your ERP system. Now, but there are chances like there are some failures. So what we do in such scenarios is like we create a batch class. Like suppose it might run hourly basis as well, and we query like where it has failed, and then we maintain a counter which says like how many retry attempts has been done. Because there are high chances like whenever there is a retry mechanism we follow, there could be multiple reasons. Like one is like your system just your ERP system might be down for maintenance. There might be chances like your data that is being sent is incorrect. Multiple scenarios can be possible. We all agree on this, right? So we propose like you maintain a counter and then you maintain that integration status. So that's why setting this max retry limit is important. Now, what do you do? Like, you publish a platform event, like whatever are the records that are eligible in the execute method, you publish a platform event. How do you publish the platform event? Event bus.publish is your method. So you can do that and then you increment the counter. Now, what is the advantage? If instead of platform event, I was using the normal approach, what would be happening? See, what could that should be the question that you should be asking yourself. Please acknowledge or do some response. Or in case you have any doubts or clarifications needed, please feel free to interrupt me. So whenever this kind of things happen in, if you have a suppose you do a platform event. Now, what is the advantage? Like, if there's any other mechanism happening or the orders are created from some third party system, so then also your other logic would remain same. You would be able to reuse it. Because ETL will your MuleSoft will get the means through the other mechanism. Like suppose like in HubSpot you create the order, then you want to send those details to ERP again. But if your payload is same, then the HubSpot can also publish the platform event, and then again MuleSoft would be able to reuse your code and mapping and everything, and there will be no other change that would be needed in. So that way, like from the Salesforce perspective, like it is more segregated and scalable solution. We call this approach as event-driven architecture.
Uh, Ankit, I have one doubt. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so here when we just this one publish the platform event, and how can we just set the counter in the batch class here? Because the event should be published from anywhere, right? If I'm just publishing the event from the flows or from the Apex class, so how can I just handle the retry mechanism in the this one batch Apex?
See, what I'm seeing in is like publishing the platform. Like suppose if you are publishing the platform in from HubSpot, then you will have to add that logic or hit the Salesforce API to increment that counter. Otherwise, if it is from Salesforce, like consider it like it would be for like you do a query, you get query locator, you query the orders, right? And in
Yeah.
your execute method, you would have you will iterate you will in your execute method you would be having a scope of orders, right?
Yeah.
Now there will be a for loop like for order instance colon order list or order scope, and then in that you will be creating a platform event instance, and then you will be setting up the fields,
Yeah.
and then you can publish in loop. And the same way like or incrementing the counter, that counter is based out of which one? It is a field in my on my record itself, right?
Yeah.
On my, so I could increment that set to the increase the counter, and then after the loop I can update the orders as well, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So that way you will have to proceed.
Okay, yeah, sure. Thank you.
So this is one simple example, and not always like it could be failed for failure or retry. It can also happen like many companies, like suppose they have large amount of data, like consider it like Amazon or Flipkart, they have millions of orders. So they would be also utilizing batch class only for this kind of use case, like where they will have to process the orders. Like, and but the scenario would be they might be running the batch class within an hour or something like that, because the volume would be large, and if they delay it further and only process it at night, the efficiency of the process might decrease. So there as well the same thing will happen. We will, instead of querying this integration status, we will go with order status, like whether it is ready to process or something like that. And then once the order is fulfilled in the ERP system, then the ERP system would collect all of it and hit our native bulk Salesforce using bulk API, or either they can go with composite API as well. But bulk API will be more suitable for this approach, since you have to update lot of records in one go. So bulk API is more suitable for doing bulk update. So that is how your end-to-end flow would work like. Any other queries or anything? Because there are like it is
Ankit,
we
Uh, can I go it?
Let me just see like if the person is already there or okay, I think Rafi dropped. Like the PPT will not be shared, but the recording of this video will be shared with you. So you can go through the video. Okay, yeah. Now you can go forward like what with your question. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. The thing is like, so you are saying is like, I'm just publishing one event. So when they are just facing some issues for subscribing that particular event, then we can just add the retry logic mechanism here, right?
No, it can happen. Like, see, there are multiple scenarios that could be possible, like where due to means because of which your order data might not be getting synced with ERP. First thing is like your order has bad data. That can be possible. Like that, you with that the payload that is created and contains incorrect entries, and because of which your target system, like your ERP, rejected that. It
Okay.
can happen like that. Second scenario is like your ERP was having some downtime or there was some record locking kind of mechanism. It can happen like that as well.
Okay.
So there are multiple scenarios that can happen. So that's why like platform event is actually a solution for scale, which Salesforce also promotes like it is real time. It happens near real time. So it works. The advantage is like you're able to means there's another scenario like where it will talking specifically on the platform events. I think at that time the things would be much more clear. Here the main thing we are talking about is like batch apex, like where we are querying millions of records and then processing it. Make sense?
Yeah, yes, Ankit. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Now the second example. See, it might happen like, sales representatives normally the iteration rate is a bit high. So, it might happen like there are some records in your org which are owned by inactive user. Now, what the challenge happens is like no further processing happens on, and suppose there's any automation that might fail as well. So, like, what do we do is like we have a nightly job which checks like your opportunity records or your important things like your lead records. If they're owned by inactive user, then we assign it to their manager. That can be another use case. Like, see, your in your org there could be multiple record means. It is like a volume constraint. Like all the records will not be more, but it might happen like the processing would take too much time. Imagine like in your org, like there are a lot of opportunities. Lot means it could be around 50,000 as well. Assume like it is a very heavy organization which has too many leads, opportunities, like your e-commerce kind of a business. Not sorry, e-commerce, B2B kind of a business, like Alibaba or something like that. So this is another use case like you can use your batch classes. You will iterate and you will find out the inactive user and then update do the updates, and that's it. Very simple example, not much complexity around it. Now is a very important topic, platform event. Platform event is actually your messaging bus. Like it is like used for communication between independent technologies as well. Like suppose in Salesforce you publish a platform event, your MuleSoft can also listen, and MuleSoft can also publish a event, platform event. You create the platform event in Salesforce, but you can get it published via your REST API as well. So that is the thing, like it is able to communicate it in within Salesforce and outside of Salesforce as well. It is used technically for this purpose. Are we all aligned on this?
Yeah, yes, Ankit.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, what are the different use cases? First is your event-driven architecture, like how I explained the previously. Like what normally happens is like your order is changed to reviewed, then we publish a platform event, then your mule subscribes to that event. Now, what ability MuleSoft has is like it can do the heavy processing in terms of data transformation and doing manipulation. Like from all your platform events, you will have the IDs of the records, right? Obviously, like if I'm publishing a platform event and I want to publish, I'm publishing order, then definitely in my payload I would be having order ID, right?
Yeah.
Now what I do is I get the whatever the platform events being published. I will collect all of it in MuleSoft. I will extract the order ID. Then I will collect all of it and do a bulk API and or composite API and get all the information and then do a transformation and create a payload dynamically. This ability is in your ETLs or your ESBs. This is a special ability that they have. So you create that payload and hit it. Obviously, these ERP systems, we definitely recommend like they should have a bulk API where they can process multiple orders, because obviously if the payload is means single record it to too many API calls, efficiency is reduced. So in your GraphQL or your bulk API, that is recommended. Like, so you hit that API, means you hit the ERP system and then through the bulk API you make a reverse update to your Salesforce saying like yes, it is published. Oh sorry, this order is being fulfilled, something like that. Is this example relatable? Or if not, not a big deal, we will go over the next example that should make the things more clear. Please raise your hand or acknowledge, like it makes me nervous, like if nobody responds.
Yes, Ankit, it's relatable.
Okay. Yeah. Another example is like your social media. We all use social media. So whenever you create a post with a particular tags, and if suppose I want to post the same message on Slack, like suppose we like suppose related to this event, this webinar, I wanted to publish it. So suppose I want three places the same thing. If the normal approach I followed, like I will have to create multiple integrations. Like I will have to integrate with your Slack, I will have to integrate with your Twitter, and I should also have a integration with Salesforce as well. So there will be multiple point-to-point integration that I would be needing. And now what I can do is like I will just publish it in one application. Let it be like Twitter, and then I can just subscribe to that event in Salesforce and Slack. Now, what would happen is like these would be able to listen to this and will be able to process this thing. Like Slack and Salesforce both definitely are able to listen to your platform event. So now I avoided multiple integration, means I avoided the heavy lifting. Only one platform event I'm publishing it, and both the places the things could be reflected very easily. Now what would happen is I will here the platform event is published. I will have a MuleSoft or ETL which would listen to it and then would hit those two API integrations. So no effort required from the Salesforce side. Understood? This one should be very easy, comparatively easy than the earlier one, because this is so much relatable, I think.
Yes, Ankit. And Ankit, is there any this one the governor limits for the from the Salesforce side for the platform event, number of platform events per day or
Yes, yes,
something?
yes, 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 yes. There's a there's a limit of around, I think, 1 lakh platform events you can publish per day, something like that. But the volume is quite large.
Oh, okay.
Now, another use case. Like this is a diagram. Like here you will have this like MuleSoft layer. So here we are, Salesforce is producing it and the other application are like just consuming it. Some a normal diagram, I thought like I will just keep it. Next is a logging mechanism. Have anybody heard about unhandled exceptions? Or let me say the other way around. How many of you have not heard about unhandled exceptions? You can raise your hand or do something so that okay. Okay. See, unhandled exceptions are actually the exceptions which like happen due to mostly the governor limits. Like suppose you have 101 SOQL, right? Or 10,001 DML. So what happens in this regards is like we all know like in case of exception you can do the try catch and it can handle, right? But suppose there is an unhandled exception, the entire transaction will get rolled off. Now what do you do? Yes, suppose I want to say, suppose like I am a developer, okay, I wrote a piece of code and I did my handling like try catch and I was happy, very much happy. Like yes, if in case any error comes in, it will be logged in my custom error log object and later I can report on this. Looks good, right? But the catch is like in case of unhandled exception, you will not be able to do that because even while inserting this error log record, that record will not be saved to the database because entire rollback happens. Now what do you do? Now what you can do is like create a platform event. We all know like platform event is a fire and forget, right? Now the catch is your platform event, once it is published, nobody can in the world stop it. Now what happens like in case of any exception, you publish a platform event, then in that platform event you create some fields, then you publish a platform event. How will you publish? If it is through flow, you do it like your publisher event directly, you get an action, or if it is through apex event bus.publish, you get a method. Now you have an automation you can write on top of that platform event, and then inside that create a record. Now, because it is a platform event, it can't be rolled back. So you will still have the platform event will still have the details and the context would be changed. So now you will be able to save the actual log. Is it clear?
No,
Yes.
Ankit.
Can you
Okay. You understand like try catch block and we do the error logging that way, like create
Yeah.
a custom.
Yes, yes,
Yeah. So what here I am saying is like in that the problem is if suppose you get 101 SOQL or any other unhandled exception, you won't have the logs.
Okay.
Now, what you do is like you publish a platform event instead of creating a error log, and then write this logic of creating the custom error log record inside your automation of platform event.
Okay.
Now, what will happen is platform event in case of exception, a platform event will get fired, correct?
Yeah.
Now, because it is fire and forget, nobody can stop it. Now you write on the platform event, I think you would know like on platform event you can have a flow as well, or you can add triggers as well, right?
Yeah.
Now you write the in your platform event, you will have the fields to capture the logs. You will have to create that custom fields. So now entire information related to logging will be in my platform event, right or not?
Yes. Yeah.
yes.
Now I will create, then I can obviously use a create a record action and populate the fields in my custom object as well.
Okay.
So in this way, like I am able to achieve the logging in case of even unhandled exception. And if you are familiar enough, like there's a logger for logging. Normally, we prefer now Nebula logger. So that also does the same kind of implementation behind the scene. If you look at it, source code, it's available on GitHub. It is also using the same mechanism.
Ankit, so if I am just creating the event, the publisher, the logic would be if the publish after commit is there, right? If I'm just triggering the event in that way, then it will just roll back, right? So,
No, it won't.
so it will after committing the record to the database, then only this event get published, right? If I'm just creating an event in
Which
the
way? No. Platform event will get published immediately.
so there are two ways, right? One is just immediately, and one is after the commit also, right? The two way of
Yeah.
publishing the
Correct,
event.
correct.
Yeah.
Even in
So
that scenario, it will work because platform event is like fire and forget. So it won't wait for the acknowledgement.
yeah, the second way of publishing event will just publish the event only if the DML operation is complete, right? So other ways it won't just once the rollback happens, then this will not publish. I think I'm not sure.
Mm, Normally, like I have used the regular way only. I have not used after commit, but
Oh, okay.
I assume like there should not be any challenge in that because platform event is a fire and forget pattern. So what will happen is like you publish the platform event, then suppose the rollback happens. Like platform event will not have any rollback mechanism actually.
Okay, I just read some
It
word
would
like
be
that.
just
I'm
like
also
what will the difference will be. First is like it is like your after trigger and your before trigger. One will be like before committing it or firing it. There are two contexts it has given, but the logic would still remain the same. So even in that, it will work out.
oh, okay.
So this is around the locking mechanism. I think everyone else is clear, right? Now there is another use case. It's around how you can use it to communicate with asynchronous epics and LWC or your Lightning components. Suppose in the background, like you are doing some heavy processing, and like it could be in terms of your queue or even your platform event, I think. Suppose in the UI you want you clicked something and in the background the processing is happening in, and then later you also want like when that process is completed at the UI you show that yes, this process is being completed. Like how we create a new org, then it Salesforce when we create a new playground, the playground is created in the background, but once it is completed you get a notification like yes, the playground is ready, something like that, right?
Yes, Ankit. Yeah.
Yeah, so the same kind of a use case if you want to achieve, like here as well, Salesforce creator using an LWC component, and behind the scene it is doing the heavy lifting through some complex processes. But in the UI, it is like subscribing to your platform event. So whenever that platform event is published, like when the process is done, they're publishing a platform event, and then on the UI, like LWC has already subscribed to that, so it shows you the message like yes, it is done. So this is another interesting use case that can be used to achieve this. Is it clear or shall I elaborate more?
Yeah, got it, Ankit. Yeah.
Okay, let me go ahead then. Yeah, another thing, like suppose in if your batch class fails, you get to this standard platform event, batch apex error event. This is the standard platform event that is fired when your batch class fails. Okay.
But actually, I have one question related to platform events. So I
No.
have come across one thing. So let's say we have three different external systems communicating with our Salesforce or on contact object. So in this
Okay.
scenario, how we can avoid event deduplication without hitting the governor limits?
See, you have three external systems where the same contact record would have to be sent, or
Yes,
contact details would have to be sent.
yes,
So you publish like in your sales, so you publish one platform event, and then you have an ETL, right? I assume there are three external systems, means there should be an ETL, I guess.
correct.
So in your ETL, they need to subscribe to your platform event, and
Mhm.
then what should the MuleSoft or the ETL should do is like it should collect the contact ID from your platform event and create different payloads in its MuleSoft, means in its own logic. Like in the ETL itself, they will have to write that logic, and then they hit the different external system. That should be the way. Because from Salesforce side, if suppose this thing you will have to do, then what is the advantage of ETL?
Hmm. Okay.
the use case of ETL is like to streamline and avoid the logic means whenever your external systems increase, then also there should not be much development that needs to happen on Salesforce side. Like in the ETL on the MuleSoft, they have the field mapping which can be used for each of those systems, so it is quite easy to maintain. So that will be much more scalable. So that should be the approach that you should be advocating for.
Okay. So in this scenario, we need to have some connectors, right?
You need to have one platform. You need to publish a platform event. Your MuleSoft should subscribe to that platform event. Then in the MuleSoft side, you will need to have a logic written, like for suppose external system one, there's a separate payload. So
Hmm.
for that ID that it will be having, they need to query again on the Salesforce, get the details, and then create a payload dynamically based on which system it needs to go.
Okay. Understood.
So that way it will be handled.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, going further. So there's a diagram I think also I have for this. Yeah. So you have like a lightning component LWC, which calls, and in the background this asynchronous process happens. Now once that is complete, you fire the platform event. Then here in the LWC component, you subscribe to that platform event. So here that message you will be able to show through the user. Same thing, only it's just pictorial so that it's a bit easy to understand. Okay. Now I will go to the next one. Change data capture. See, platform event and change data capture both are like doing almost the same thing. Change data capture, it's a declarative first. Like you just go to a Salesforce org and you can enable this. Then you automatically use it task like for which events, for which fields you want to do that. And it publishes this one. But the catch is like it would get published every time. Like change event will get created means published for your creation, updates, deletion, everything it would be there. In. You can't have a condition specific. Like suppose if the order status is set to reviewed, then only it should create a event. No, you don't have that control. If you need such kind of use case, go with platform event. If suppose you want like everything on every change you want to capture it, then go with change data capture. Okay, that is a very fundamental difference. Now how does it help? Like whatever you would be thinking, most scenarios you would be tempted to use platform event, and even my thought process was also the same. Then I thought like what is the advantage, like why in what scenarios actually I would need the entire information to be available with me. Then it came to my understanding like archival. So suppose you want to do a backup. Like see, obviously like as a part of since you are architects, you would already know like each project should have a archival strategy, a backup and archival strategy. Like in case of any failure, like you should have a backup of your data. Now for such kind of like things, like each company has their own mechanism. Either they go with own backup or they have like other tools as well available in the market, or some prefer like using Heroku as well for storing the archived data and doing the backup there. So what essentially we do is like whenever that data is changed, like obviously it will is like one approach. Instead of I have to get a real time, means I want to capture the information whenever it is changed. Like suppose if account name is changed, or suppose account rating is changed, or anything is changed, then I would need to get the updated information and publish it in my uh, archival database, or I would say in my other external system as well. So this would be if I didn't use change data capture, then I will end up doing too many API calls. But because it is change data capture, I don't have to do much things. I need to directly use that mechanism and I would be able to capture the changes in my external system, because it is again a platform event only, so I would be able to do that. On the official site, you might see multiple use cases around this change data capture, but essentially it mostly comes back to this logic of archival only. I hope I'm clear, right? This is
Ankit, if well, can you give a quick or short example like how it can replace multiple API calls in real time?
see a simple example. If
Mhm.
I'm not using change data capture, I want to capture this information of the object every time. Like suppose account record, say account name was suppose ABC was the name original. Okay, so now the name is changed from ABC to ABCD. Now
Mhm.
again, whenever the name is changed, I will have to hit the API and update the in my external system. Like yes, the name is changed. Now
Yes.
suppose like if I the contact is changed, or suppose on the same object as well, if suppose on the account instead of name, like the rating value is changed. Like earlier it was like low, it was changed to high, something like that.
Mhm.
Then again the API call would need to happen. So whenever any of the fields are being changed, it would go like a trigger. Like every time a change something is changed, the API call I will have to make sure that the external system and the Salesforce is in sync.
Mhm. Correct.
So if I don't want to avoid this thing, then I just subscribe to this change that change event of that object, and that can solve the purpose for me.
Mhm.
So it has all the
Okay.
field like what is the old, what is the new, everything is available.
Mhm.
So that way it avoids your API callouts.
Mhm. Okay.
And
Okay, Ankit.
Ankit, here also, do we have any limits? So if I'm making millions of records, so is there any limit for this one? So governor limits
It
kind
is
of.
processed per record basis only, as per my understanding. I think the limit is not that much. Like it's used for like this heavy lifting only. So here the limits I think are not means I've not heard anything, but I will need to check. Means whatever I have learned so far is like there are no has such any limits which normally we encounter in the projects. Normally it
Okay.
is like under control. Like we don't have that much which we normally encounter in the projects. That is the use case. Like that's why we prefer it for archival kind of a thing. And even own backup also utilizes this.
Okay. Thank you.
Now the next is AWC. Very simple, but again, like you will have to be cautious on what are the specific things you are highlighting. Uh, Suppose there's like you're creating a portal where they can see the customers can see their information and do like case creation and some chat, something like you have this kind of functionality. So you can mention like we use LWC, then the panel would ask like why LWC. You can say like it has like Lightning Locker, or you can even now talk about Lightning Web Security as well. So it's security wise, it's like much more secure because of process scripting and your shadow DOM, something like that you can mention. And then because of your yeah, uh, not sure like if you will all have observed or not. Like suppose I'm using where adapter or your GraphQL, anything like that. If suppose I don't have access to that field, means FLS or even the objectual access, I actually get an error. I need to have the access of the record, and I need to have the access of your field and object. Then only I'm able to get that information. So which actually can we can talk about it in the terms of like it has better security. Like suppose I'm using Apex, like it gives me the flexibility. Like if I want to have it with sharing, without sharing. So here the things are like if you have the access, then only the data is being shown to you. So I would consider it like more security wise, much more better. And obviously LWC is much more responsive because it is like uses SLDS. We all know SLDS. And also I would say like reusability, like it also have like standard components like your lightning data table, carousel, and many other like your forms and all. So which actually makes the development a bit faster as well. So that's why like my preference would be to use LWC wherever possible. There are less chances of any questions in this, but still I will say like if anybody has any questions around this, please feel free to ask.
So Ankit, yeah, so you are saying, so instead of using the imperative calls for fetching records, we have to use always the wire adapters, right?
See, nothing is good, nothing is bad. If suppose you have the use case of getting the records or getting the data, my recommendation will be, if you only read operation, go with wire adapter. If suppose you have to do a DML, you'll have to go with imperative call. Or suppose there's a use case like where the user does not have access to that record directly, means it is not shared, but still you want to show it. Then with your wire adapters, it won't be possible. You'll have to go with Apex with that.
Okay, yeah,
It's all
got
about
it.
your requirements and how you are able to find means yeah, it's mostly goes back to your requirements. What is the use case that you are trying to achieve? It's all about trade-offs in architecture.
Okay, yeah, got it, Ankit. Yeah, thank
Yeah, I think it will be the last, I guess. Yeah, this is again an important topic, and many people I have been asked this question multiple times. So I thought like this time I will create a table for this. When should I go with flow and when should I go with trigger? See, the problem with flows is like you don't have index, first of all. Very simple thing. If suppose I want to go to the particular index, like I want to go to the first record, I have to go first and last are available. But in between, if you want to fetch any index, it's not possible. And I can't go in the like if suppose I have to go like if it is like third index comes in, then I take that third index and use it and get the element from the other list with that index number, not possible. So if complex calculation I need to do on the list, flow is not a good option for me. So in such scenarios, the recommendation approach would be like you go with flow plus epics. I'm going part by part. So this first part I discussed. I think this everybody should who has yeah. Yes, or Lando, yeah. Yeah, you can unmute yourself.
But can you explain a little bit about when you say the flow is not using the index?
Yeah, so what I mean is like suppose you're iterating, like you have a collection, like suppose you're using get record. You have all the records with you. Now you use a iteration element, right? In that, if suppose I have like 5 elements, I need
Okay.
to I already know like there are like I have now we have the ability as well like to set like only these many records I need to query, like they have a limit attribute, like 5 elements are there. And if suppose I am finding a particular element, like I have a condition, like if I find the element, like suppose taking very simple hypothetical example, like suppose in the colors loop, if I find yellow, then at that index I need to go to the other list and fetch a particular element.
Okay.
Can I do this?
Okay.
No.
No. No. Okay.
So it's not that much flexible like as you get the functionality in your Apex. So in such scenario, my takeaway would be like you use flow plus Apex.
Okay. Thank you.
Next is your dynamic field referencing. Uh, it is also you can say sometimes as mapping. Like suppose you have a mapping of like say order records to some other your custom objects or something like that, where you want to maintain like this field of my object source object should be matching the target field of my target object. So if I use flow, then I will have to hard code everything. But obviously we know like hard coding, like if the volume is number of fields are more or if the mapping changes everywhere I need to make the changes. So
Yeah.
my approach in this case would be you create a custom metadata, maintain everything there, call an apex, use the field describe like how this sObject.get and put method and then do it.
Okay, thank
Much
you.
more cleaner,
Mm-hmm.
much more
Yeah.
scalable.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So always go with that. Transformations, like obviously, like there are few transformations that are supported right now, but obviously, like whatever you have in Apex can't be matched. So you can do the filtering and all of it, but if the tremendous manipulation needs to happen, it is a no. Bulkified DML and SOQL. Uh, Logically, you might say like, yeah, I can handle it myself. I can means flow might show warning, or using some extension you might get warning like, please follow the best practices. But I will say like in the triggers and other apex, like you get a clear cut, you have a governor limit in place. Like suppose if you are writing the code inside a loop, then automatically it will break and will tell you like you have 101 s. Means the limits are always therein, but the advantage is like you have better control. Like sometimes I too have noticed myself like while I'm writing a flow, I will have to do multiple queries in the same transaction because that element is not directly available in the get records. Like suppose I have to go with parent dot some specific field, and if I have to use that in my filters or get that data, so that becomes a bit complex or that is not supported. So whenever it is like too much complex query, I avoid it using flow. Like suppose I had a requirement around a territory, I need to get a territory mapping, territory members I would need wanted to get. So directly it was not possible. I had to go to the territory model, territory assignment, then territory model, something like that. So there were multiple queries I had to do. But if suppose I had used the Apex, it would have been much more simpler. So that is the use case. Another is reusability. Obviously, you have auto launch flow which you can use, but again in your before flows you can't do that. But in triggers always you can do that. Like you can have like your utility classes and everything. So you have full power in your Apex. Flow executes serially, like it executes even part by part. Like first, like and there's like we are actually going over time, but I would just give you a high level idea like it execute element by element. So and in your for suppose there are 10 records for which the flow is being called, then you will notice like 10 times as elements are being executed, 10 times that flow is getting called. But whenever a bulk element happens, like a get record or update or anything like that, at that time it waits for others to get completed and then it does the bulkification there. So still it is called as serially. I know it is a bit unclear, so I would like to cover that with a better, much more elaborative example. And obviously performance wise, well architected also says like avoid flow for large data volume or means large volumes or complex logic. Trigger always used for large data set. Flow test is available but not imposed. Trigger obviously will have to write the test classes. I think this should be clear, right? Any specific thing which is unclear in this? I take it as a no and move forward. Like trigger, like again, I have taken a simple example like of the mapping only, like you have the field source and target, everything stored in metadata. So you can't do this in your flow. So you use the get and put method in your code and write that logic. So this is much more scalable. And this example you can talk in your interview as well. Like you have to had a mapping. So for that you had to use trigger. Next is your flow. So you can say like see if there's a complex logic, like suppose in each account you will have to have only one open opportunity, so you can use before flow. And the advantage is you might say like, why can't I use validation rule? With validation rule, you won't be able to achieve and count the number of open opportunities. So flow would give you better control. This example is clear. I think you might all be aware of custom error element, I guess, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. This is a very good feature. Like, means I would like to thank Salesforce a ton because it was much needed. So I think this should be the end, I guess. Yeah. Any final questions?
Yes, I am in your WhatsApp group. How can I get more information about your
Okay,
courses?
Grunk. It's not any code. Yeah, I will just pause the recording 1 second.